You know, as much as it kind of irks me a little bit to give Harsh Reality some credit, I'm a man of honesty, so I'm going to give Harsh Reality some credit. He recently just did a video. In fact, it was this morning. It was called The Undeniable Military Connection in the Idaho 4. And I got to really thinking about it, and it's something we've touched on before. He's right. I'm thejbgunner. This is Crime Time. Let's go ahead and get on into this video. You guys have gotten 2 videos 2 days in a row. You guys are some lucky motherfuckers.
Bring it back.
What's going on, everybody? You guys already know I'm thejbgunner. This is Crime Time. Before we get started with this shorter video, I'm not going to be doing a long one here in this one. I want to say thank you to everybody that supports the channel or any of my channels on either platform, regardless of the method you choose, whether it's Cash App, Patreon, Venmo, PayPal. Truth is, guys, I couldn't do this each and every day as often as I do if it wasn't for you, the Gun Squad. Appreciate you so much. Thank you. And if you too find my content valuable, feel free to hit the links down below. Support the channel. Join the Gun Squad today. While you're down there, you can also find my other content, my politics, my live streaming channel, my gaming channel, my amusement park channel, my fucking pro wrestling channel. I got so many channels. It is what it is. But guys, let's go ahead and jump on into this because I just want to give my quick opinion on this. Now, what do we know about the Idaho 4 case? We know that a killer used a lot of stealth in the middle of the night, what they claim to be 4 a.m., went into a house with 6 people involved in the house. A house that the night before had 150 people, they say, at a party, right? So a killer used a lot of stealth, went inside of a home with 6 people, and killed 4 of them. Left no DNA really behind other than the knife sheaths, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Left no real evidence. No breaking and entering, no anything. Then escaped the place. Nowhere else outside of that home is there a drop of either the girl's DNA, any victim's blood, not outside in the grass, the snow, the car, the street, the apartment, the home, the job. There's literally no DNA, no proof of this crime anywhere other than the crime scene, which the only thing that they even have that connects anyone else is 3 dudes' DNA and 1 microscopic piece of DNA, touch DNA, on a knife sheath. Now, when you look at the knife sheath, you have to ask yourself, okay, the knife sheath itself and the weapon they claim committed these crimes itself was a military-style K-bar. That is military connection number 1. Harsh correctly said in his video today, he said he talked about the coroner. And the coroner mentioned, not just him, but Steve Gonsalves, they mentioned slashes, tears, not stabbings. There was no stabbings in this incident. He says, I want you to see the image on Harsh's screen. It says, Corps Close Combat Instructors for training new recruits. Unlike the prior Marine Raider Stiletto, Marines were taught to use their new knife primarily as a slashing weapon in initial phases of hand-to-hand combat. Now let that sink in for just a second, because when you think back to what the coroner said, Steve Gonsalves said, the style of killings with the different people were different, and there was slashes. People have talked about Ethan's throat being slashed. People have talked about slashes to the legs of Ethan. People have talked about, now a lot of these are just rumors you hear on the internet, as some of them are official statements. People have talked about the slashes to Kaylee Gonsalves. Vicious slashes. Now when you think about that, you say, okay, slashes is a little bit different. If I was going to kill somebody and I was going to use a knife, I personally would stab. But I'm also not a trained military guy. Have you guys ever fought 4 people? Have you guys ever even gotten into a fight with 1 person? typically you're exhausted after that, right? Now imagine fighting one male, bigger than you, more athletic than you, and then also 3 other people. Not just fighting, but getting into a potential conflict. And think about the upstairs bedroom. There's no way that you could kill one of those girls without the other girl waking up. There had to have been a struggle, therefore that's why the knife sheath was lost. There had to be a struggle in an upstairs bedroom. There had to be. But I also want you to think about the stealth and the lack of noise that actually supposedly existed throughout this whole thing. You don't hear report. Remember, remember they claimed that Bethany and Dylan were on the phone texting. We know for a fact that Dylan claims to have heard some things, but let me tell you what she did not claim to hear. Fighting, yelling, screaming. Think about it. Think about your house right now. If somebody was in a back room, struggling, fighting, yelling, and we've talked about that before on this channel, wouldn't you hear it? That means the killer themselves, the amount of stealth they had to use, because the only real reports is that they heard whimpering from Xana's room. That means the upstairs killing, other than the dog barking, had to be completely silent. Now, excuse me, imagine the training you'd have to sneak into that room, murder 2 people, even though they were girls, murder 2 people without a noise being made. You would have had to put your hand over the mouth. Is that an accurate statement? And once again, you have to ask yourself, why isn't Brian Kohlberger's DNA on their face, on their mouth? In that type of scenario, he was using gloves. Okay, fine. Whoever the killer was, right? Because we'll get into Brian Kohlberger in just a second. Whoever did it had to have committed the first 2 murders upstairs with extreme stealth. No real noises being made. None of the girls screaming for help. The killer himself wasn't making any noises. And then he comes down, perhaps bumps into Xana or Ethan. Remember, they had just ordered DoorDash. Kills them without any real, gets into a fight after killing other people. With a dude bigger than him, then there's no sounds of conflict. There's no real sounds. If 2 dudes was in your house fighting right now, you would hear it. So there is sounds of a thud that was supposedly recorded from the camera next door, and whimpering. Perhaps Xana. We all know that Dylan said that she heard whimpering. And then someone said, it's okay, I'm here to help you. I don't believe any of Dylan's testimony, to be honest. So I want you to think about the murderers themselves. The killer comes in, dressed in stealth. A lot of you believe he was wearing overalls. Stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. Okay? So the killer comes in, somehow murders 4 people, without apparently waking and alerting the other 2 people that were in the house. Then somehow leaves without slinging DNA everywhere. Then somehow gets in his vehicle and leaves. And the supposed person that they believe did this didn't get any DNA anywhere else. Now, let me say this. What makes any of you believe Brian Kohlberger is that skilled? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know if it was Brett Kopacker or whatever his fucking name is or not. I'm just using his image because everybody's talking about it, right? I don't know if Kopacker did any of this shit. I'm not one of those people that put my money on Kopacker as the guy, right? I don't know enough about Brett Kopacker. I've done some videos. I've talked about it a little bit. But because he is military and there is a connection with Kohlberger all the way back to Pennsylvania, you have to at least consider it as a possibility. But here's the reality. The killings themselves were extremely skilled. Whether you I get it. A lot of you guys, we just want justice. It doesn't matter. The killings themselves, whoever did the killings themselves, was extremely skilled, almost as if they were trained. Now, by your own words, you believe Brian Kohlberger was some incel nerd that had no life. What makes you guys think that some dude going for his PhD in criminology has the combat experience and the ability to be stealthy, ability to overpower combat experience to be able to commit this crime? You guys just believe he's just some nerdy incel, right? That's what you guys believe. What makes you think Brian Kohlberger has the physical prowess to commit this crime? Because he's 6 foot tall? So what? That's what I'm saying. Like, what seriously? Because you have to realize the killings themselves plus the military knife left behind does mean, it does show that the killer looks to be someone with military experience. Some sort of combat killing experience. Most of you guys, when this crime first happened, you said, there's no way in fuck this is the killer's first crime. There's no way in fuck this is the killer's first kill. And you know what? Now that I look at it, if you take the knife sheath out of the picture, the DNA on the knife sheath, everything else was done flawlessly. This does not have the telltale signs of a rookie killer. Now, the knife sheath, it leans towards both directions. It leans kind of towards Kohlberger, but also it still leads towards a military man. I get it. Non-military people can have a K-bar knife and a knife sheath. I get that. But let me tell you something. Most people that even know what a K-bar... Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm 43 years old. I've never even heard of a K-bar or a knife sheath. And I've got 3 degrees. I'm a smart motherfucker. I've never even heard either of those two phrases, a K-bar knife or a knife sheath, until this case. I'm not bullshitting you at all. Now, granted, I'm not one of these people that carry around the knife, so that's why I've never heard of the phrase, the word knife sheath. But also, I've never heard of a K-bar knife. Your average person probably hasn't. Your average person, and I'm curious, audience, how many of you have heard of a K-bar knife before this event? Now, granted, a lot of you people have. I get all that. But there's a lot of us that didn't. Hell, a lot of people didn't even know how to pronounce the K-bar. I still don't know. Is it K-bar, K-bar? I don't fucking know. What makes you believe that Brian Kohlberger has the physical prowess to commit these murders in the precision and perfection in which they were committed? That's all I'm asking. This looks like a skilled killer. So you have to ask yourself, do you believe that Brian Kohlberger, a 28-year-old boy with no military experience, with no combat experience, has that ability? And I know what you're going to say, but he boxed. Boxing is for fucking pussies. MMA is how you really defeat people in fighting. Boxers ain't going to run around and defeat 4 people. MMA is how you can control a fight. Boxers typically get destroyed in real fights by MMA guys. So saying that someone boxed a little bit, and it's not like he boxed professionally or anything like that. So saying someone has a little bit of boxing training, if you want to consider it that, isn't saying that he has the physical prowess to kill 4 people and engage in stealth and know how to slash. The training, I'm just being honest. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to be trained to slash. You don't. Anybody can slash just like anybody can stab. I just know me as a layman, someone who's not a killer or a trained killer. Do you see what I'm saying? Anyone that's not a trained killer, when you have a knife, you're like, no, I'm going to stab the shit out you. You're not thinking necessarily about the concept of slashing. Because I don't want to miss. I don't want to try to slash you and miss. I'm going to grab you and juke you. But that's just me, right? The killer that engaged in this murder, it had to be very skilled. So when Harsh talks about this, and then he goes back and he talks about, and so, I have no problem promoting him a little bit. Go watch the video. When he talks about the military connections, he's 100% right. And when he talks about the coroner, and then the slashing, and then Gonsalves, and then you have to, like I said, you have to look at all the lack of evidence. This was done. That's why many people think the cartel did it. Because, people are stuck on that shit. Because it looks like a professional hit in a lot of ways, other than the fact that Dylan was left alive. But you have to ask yourself, what now granted, we don't know, but why the lack of noise? That camera was able to capture some. Why the lack of noise? Think about that for just a second. As violent of murders as this seems to be, why the lack of noise? What kind of noise suppression existed here? And if you're a trained killer, you know how to kill someone using stealth to make the least amount of noise. That is a military training concept. Do you see what I'm saying? Your average, regular, run-of-the-mill killer isn't trained in stealth and noise suppression. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? So, my take on this is that to believe Bryan Kohberger did this would have to believe that he is a skilled killer. And I don't believe that at all. And here's the truth. Most of you do not either. Because most of you believe he was some incel nerd. You're wrong. Nerd he was. He was going for his PhD. And there's nothing wrong with being a nerd. And I understand you're going to bring up people like Ted Bundy and say educated people can do shit like this. And you're right. But when did Ted Bundy take down 4 people at once? I think, who was it? The Gainesville Ripper did. But have you seen Danny Rolling? The Gainesville Ripper was fucking, is that his name, Danny Rolling? The Gainesville Ripper was fucking huge. Do you see what I'm saying? Most serial killers and most killers in general hunt individual targets. They go for individuals. Most people don't run up in houses that they know have 6 people in it and try to kill people. And if you're right and Bryan Kohberger did all the surveillance that you claim he did, then he would have known that this is a party house and there was going to be a lot of motherfuckers in the house. Those are your words, not mine. You're the ones that believe this shit about Kohberger. So I'm asking you, do you believe Bryan Kohberger has the physical prowess and skill to commit this crime? It does feel like a trained killer did it. Was it Brent Kopacka? Maybe. Maybe not. This feels like a professional hit in some way. There had to be skill with this. There's too little evidence. And before you people go out there and you scream like what all the tards always say, you don't know what evidence they got. I told you, and I stand by my position, that 85% of the evidence they have is in the PCA. Trust me. And I've been proven right so far, haven't I? They can't even get, the defense can't even get any of the fucking evidence in discovery. Because there is none. I'm thejbgunner. This is Crime Time. Guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you agree with me? This just feels like it was done by a skilled killer. Shout out to Harsh for giving me this idea to make this second video of the day. There is military connections here, starting with the goddamn knife. See y'all.